All right, I was going to throw my customer under the bus, but I'm going to reserve that until we get a little deeper into this. I've got a 592, a 500i, and a 400C. And all three of them have burnt pistons, and there's a two-stroke oil question involved, and it's not what you think. So, to give you the story from the beginning, the 400, he called me and said, man, this thing has zero compression. He's on the job site, and I'm like, look, just pull the top cover off and look to see if the spark plug is backed out. And he said, yeah, I did have one of my guys put a spark plug in. We talked about tightening the spark plug until it actually flattened the crush washer. And I can show you that in a second. But anyway, so he puts it in there, gets it tightened back up, saw still won't start. He has somebody run the saw over to me. And then the next day, these two show up. The 500i's got the most busted starter I've ever seen. They said it was quote unquote locked up, but I have never seen somebody rip the plastic off of the Elastostart handle like that. I mean, that's I gotta hand it to Mongo. I have never, ever seen that. It wasn't locked up. I could move the flywheel a little tight, so obviously so I'm thinking we have like an air leak problem here, so I'm just gonna do this. And I'm like, well, let's pull the muffler and take a look. Sure enough, that's scored. And I'm like, okay, that's scored. I had him running Honda HP2 after convincing him that it was one of the better oils to run. And now I get a little farther along. He ordered a case of it off of Amazon, and instead of getting HP2, he got Honda GN2, which is like for older style, and you can look it up yourself. It's recommended for older style, air or water cooled. It's also it's for like an injector system as opposed to premix. Usually the injector oils are a little thinner. And I can't find that much information online, which is crazy. I just spent like maybe 10 minutes, so I thought I could at least come off being knowledgeable. I couldn't find anybody that did any tests or reviews. They seem to be, all the rage in like with scooters. They don't run the same kind of RPMs that these do, Well, let's take a look. All right, here's our 400. She scored up. Here's our 500, but oh, I moved it. I'll have to rotate the, oh gosh. Yeah, she's a little tight. Ugh. And it's hard to get that to zoom in past there, but you can definitely see she scored and she scored. Now I've got some, my old famous QT cups. This one's a little dirty, but I just want to see what's in the tanks. And there's still like a little bit of blue or something like that left in one of these. I can't remember. If I'm not mistaken, and what I could find online is that the GN2, I think, is a mineral oil, but I can't confirm that. And then it doesn't have any dye in it. But he swears he mixed a 16-ounce pint of GN2 to 5 gallons, which is actually a little bit better than 41, because it's like 14.8 or 15.1 ounces to make 40 to 1 at 5 gallons. All right, let's give this a go. I might need a little bit more room on the bench, but we'll try and get this done. And I don't want to drag this out into a long video. But, while I was looking for tests and reviews on GN2. Well, I found, like, I don't know, a bunch of my videos on every other oil on the planet, but I couldn't find anything where anybody had tested this oil. Set this off to the side. Get a little bit more room to work here. And I mean, it's consistent. I'll give them that. Oh gosh. You know, I mean, I feel bad for the dude. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to clean up the cylinders on all these and just throw a piston in there. We'll make sure that the crank and the bearings are okay. But, all right, that doesn't make sense. Man, I've got auto tunes, M-tronic, and fuel injection systems, and we got burnt pistons, scored pistons. All right, there's the 400 oil, the 500, and then I don't know how we get to this. It's a little bit, something just doesn't seem right there. The dye in HP2 is about that same color. It is really, really, really blue. Like, see what I'm talking about? And there's a lot of dye in it. So when you just mix this at 40-to-1, you have a very dark blue mix. I did this, and I don't know if I can recreate it, but let's try. All right, my hands are, I'm trying to make that go, you know, you can, but I guess there's some residual grease from just handling the saws. But when I put this in here, that actually just knocked all the lubrication off my hands. I mean, it's like dry to the touch. Things that make you go, hmm. All right, so here's my residual cup that had that HP2 in it. And you'll definitely have to shake. I mean, you can, once I stir this up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know what ratio that is, but I mean, it's a very distinct blue. Lots and lots of dye. And then I can't get that to do. I mean, that just turns my fingers like dry as a popcorn fart. Okay, so I'm working this out with y'all as you're watching along. Let's test for ethanol. You know, what if this is like E85 or something crazy? And that would have, you know, obviously if you're going to run E85, you got to run like a bunch more fuel. And obviously you'd probably need a bunch more lubrication, especially in a two-stroke. I've never tried it, but it doesn't sound like it'd be a great idea. So I've got some water here. I've got a graduated cylinder. Did a quick search on the internet. There's two ways to do this. One's like 3-to-1 in water and fuel, you know, like 1 part water, 3 parts fuel. And then the other one I saw is, you know, just put 10 milliliters of water in here, 90 milliliters, shake it up, and then, you know, whatever combines with the water. Some of the other tests say, you know, if you've got that much concentration in it, you need more water to do the test accurately. So we'll do it both ways. All right, 10 milliliters of water. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pour this on camera. You know what? You just take my word for it. I got 10 and I'm just going to pour that in there and get it to 100 using both hands, not making a mess. All right, we're at 100. Let me shake this up and I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes and see where we end up at. All right, it's only been a minute or two. Kind of weird. Looks like there's like a layer of oil on top. But I mean, it needs to settle out a little bit more. That's a little cloudy. But I think we can safely say that's just plain old, 10% ethanol or 8 or 9%, whatever it is. Let's try it with some more water and see if we can't get a different result. All right, I got 30% water. Well, 30 and I'm just a little shy of 100 there. Let me just top that off. And then I'll shake it up and see if we get any different results without going down this too far. Okay, I'll let that set for a while. We don't have an asinine amount of ethanol in there. It only brought it up 6 milliliters. All right, so that was fun. Didn't yield anything for results. The 500i is probably the worst scored. So let's tear this thing down and let's see what's up on the inside. I mean, I'm going to have to tear all 3 of these down anyway, but just for this one video, well, we might tear down a 400 too. But I'll just cut to the chase as soon as I get the cylinder off. Okay, I'm still not any smarter. But anytime you see scoring on the intake side of the piston is a lack of lubrication for sure. And then it's magnified on the other side because this is the hotter side. This is where the hot exhaust is coming out. And this is where the fresh, cool fuel and air mix is going in and hitting that piston here at this intake port. I don't get it. This was not, I just installed a new spark plug and didn't crush the crush washer. That's on there. Crush washer's crushed. You can see a shine everywhere. I don't know if I can get you down in there to see. Where's my flashlight at? So we can find any, there appears to be, you guys can catch that if I hit it with the, there's oil film. I don't get it. Let me see if we can't rotate this forward a little bit. Stay. Yeah, that's okay. Why? That's in the way. Sorry. Cameraman's not worth the shit today. Let's tear down the 400 and see if we got the same results. I know some of you keyboard warriors are already down there feverishly typing. It was a dull chain. I've seen better, but, obviously this was working. It's not like this just got sharpened. The chain's dirty and, not crazy sharp, but that's a good serviceable chain. Alrighty, everything's tore off. I cracked the cylinder bolts loose. You and I will see this at the same time. Oh gosh. Come on. Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh my God. That's terrible. All right, here's some ugly shit. The crankcase is the wrong color. I got a feeling we're gonna be doing bearings on this rascal. And then again, just eat up on the intake side. And that just screams lack of lubrication. And then, we've got this whole slurry of engine juice. There we go. That's a good one right there. Can we get some light on that? Not good. So this is a case split. Oh, that's rotten. Whew. There's triple carnage today. Oh. What's a few more minutes worth of video? Let's tear it out the 592 and see what's next. Got a little bit of that piston coating. Hope that'll clean up. And then that looks, oof. That ain't just terrible, that's fugly. And once again for the keyboard warriors.
You got a double chain, you bang your chainsaw up.
It's all but a brand hammer new chain, and it was being used. So
it's not the chain, so there, yeah.
Boy, the air injection on these newer Huskies just isn't as good as it used to be. I mean, I could see a 595 that probably hadn't had the air filter checked in weeks or months and look better than this. I mean, there's a lot of dust and a little bit got past the air filter. So she's been eating a little bit of dust. That's sad for a $1,500 saw. I mean, there's, just doesn't seal up really good around here. And, pulling that, I don't know if we'll go into how the air injection works on this. Just look it up. Okay, I took the top 2 bolts out. They weren't that tight. I backed that one out. It was not tight either. Here's my last. See if I got enough dexterity to do this. All right, that one was the tightest of the 4. All right, got the top end off. This seems to be the least destructed, but we got some scuffing on our intake side and some scuffing on our exhaust side. Everything else seemed to be pretty good. Just a note, if you've got a 592 or 572, I think they've fixed this where instead of the wires being tucked in, then the plastic holder for that wire, the wire's going on the bottom or some shit like that. This is, because you can't just, like that wire goes straight into here. So we're going to have to repair this wire with something not too bulky so it'll still fit in this groove and get it back to where we can actually use the kill switch to stop the saw. Anyway, let's look at the piston. My ex-wife always used to tell me that I expelled air when I was miffed about something. She was right 100% of the time, because I did. All right, so, like I said, the best of the bunch, but, that's not gonna do. All right, let me clean this nonsense up and let's talk. Same thing with the chain here. This is all but a brand hammer new chain. Yeah, looks like it's got a little bit of wear and tear on it, but that looks perfectly fine. All right, now again, I talked to my customer and he mixes his fuel the exact same way every time. He buys the pint bottle and does 5 gallons of gas. Look, I don't know what to say. It sure seems like it's, well, okay, it's not enough lubrication, whatever it is. Is it the oil or did it really just get screwed up there at the pump? I don't know. Okay, I can't let you down. I'm your YouTube redneck 2-stroke oil guy. I did some more deep diving into this GN2 oil from Honda, and apparently the consensus is that this is running mopeds, large displacement, single cylinder, that aren't going to be running like crazy high RPMs. You got to think, these are going to be running 8 to 10,000 RPM in the cut. You're not going to see that in, a moped. Moreover, I did mention this is a injection type 2-stroke oil, so it has to be thinner for it to go in. So I think the premix recommendations were anywhere from, most everybody said 32 to 1 is where you need to live with this oil, and some said 25. I even heard one guy say 20 to 1 was in his owner's manual for his CR500. So that's it. I don't have a sample of this to check, but I would imagine this is going to be, because it's a mineral oil base, it's going to be a thinner oil, and that's why at, you know, whatever ratio I had, you know, I could actually, it just sucked all the moisture or the lubrication off my fingers. I mean, it was like spraying your fingers with like brake clean. It was that dry. You know, maybe if you just glove some more in, it would have been okay. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for sticking around to the end, and I will see you on the next one.